Okay, so you guys, welcome. And I am excited to be going live with a sweet friend. And actually, I am actually a groupie of hers in a nice, sweet little internet marketing kind of way. She produces something, I want it. That's just point blank. But today, I am excited to be welcoming Cindy Bedar to my to the Cindy Rushton Show. So we are two Cindys here today, and we're going to be digging in deep. I'm really excited. I'm not asking any hard questions because Cindy did ask me not to do that. And so I'm just excited to be having her join us. She is like an amazing author and producer. I think the reason that I was especially impressed with what she does is because she is doing much of the many of the things that love that.
I'm glad yours did that first.
We had an agreement that they would just mind.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, she is the she's an author and producer of many amazing products like the Six-Figure System. So if that is one of your personal goals, you guys, you can't miss Cindy Bedar. She is absolutely awesome, and she's done countless courses. I say that because I can't keep count. That's what I say. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. She has a wonderful website, cindybedar.com. So, Cindy, I'm so excited you're here. I have been literally counting down to have time with you, and I just want to welcome you to the Cindy Rushton Show.
Well, thank you so much. I was so excited when you invited me, and I'm super happy to be here. I love that we have the two Cindys on this call today, so that's fun.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. Okay. What I want to do real quick is I want to invite everybody, grab your big cup of tea, get ready. You're going to be fired and inspired and all that good stuff. But I want to jump in, first of all, with Cindy, maybe going back in time to 2011 or maybe a little before that. When you jumped out of corporate into having your own business. I have a lot of the people who listen to my show who maybe this is just their dream is to live the life you're living right now. And, take us there because that is seriously one of the most scary moments. And it doesn't just happen like, oh,
No.
you just did this. So take us back in time and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I actually started working online about 2008. I kind of started dabbling. Now, 2008 was a pretty rough time in the US. I think probably in the whole world. It was pretty scary time. The economy, kind of took a nosedive, and I had a job. I was lucky. I had survived several rounds of layoffs. I actually worked in the automotive industry here in Michigan, and the automotive industry was hit especially hard. So I did survive several rounds of layoffs. At one point, my boss came to me and asked me if I wanted one job that my friend currently held, or if I wanted a job that my other friend currently held, because one of them was going to get laid off, and I was going to take over one of their jobs, and that's a pretty crappy place to be, really. I never knew from day to day if the business was still going to be in existence the next day. That's how scary it was. So I was looking for a way to bring in some extra money. First of all, just so I could, you know, pay the bills easier, and also potentially get out of that business altogether because it just felt so unstable to me. So I started researching ways to make money online. This was early days, right? I mean, 2008, that's forever ago. So I started researching ways to make money online, and I discovered that people were getting paid to write online. And I had always been interested in writing. I was a pretty good writer. So I started getting little gigs to write articles online, 500-word articles for $15. That was kind of where I started, and I did that for a couple of years, and then I got hired to write a couple of sales pages for a guy. You may know him. His name's David Perdue. He hired me to write a couple of sales pages for him, and I wrote them, and he paid me. And didn't hear from him for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months after that. And then one day while I was at work, he called me and he left me a voicemail and he said, "Call me back as soon as you get this." And I immediately went into imposter syndrome. I was terrified. I thought, "Oh my god, he hated the sales pages. He wants his money back." This is months later, right? I'm just totally freaking out. So, I get in the car to go home from work that day and I called him back and he said, "I need a project manager. What would you charge me to work for me 20 hours a week?" And that was the beginning. That was the start when I started to think, I could do this. I could do this full time. I could leave my job and really make a living online. And I quit my job. I want to say that was like the end of May, beginning of June of 2011. And I quit my job my last day was October 31st, 2011. And I've worked for myself in some capacity or another since then. So almost 10 years now. And I started out like I said, I was writing content and copy. Then I worked for David as a project manager for him. I worked for some other people as a project manager. I did kind of the techie virtual assistant stuff. I did a lot of that for a lot of years. And then in 2017, I decided that if I was going to build somebody's business, I wanted it to be my own and not someone else's. So I started firing all my clients. And then finally this year, I did let go of my very last virtual assistant client. So now I teach online marketing. I teach it through courses that I create. I teach it through my membership, as you mentioned, Six Figure Systems. Um, I do online business coaching for a handful of up and coming business owners. So I have a lot of fun.
I love, love, love that. And we'll talk more about your streams because I want to come back to that in a bit. But, I'm just thinking about the person right now who's listening to us on a commute. And well, maybe they're there by now, who knows? But maybe they're just dreaming of the life that they can get whenever they get to come home, but they have really no idea where to begin.
Mm,
So, what would you suggest for that person? Because I mean, I totally get it. I think a lot of us have begun where we began where you are, and
mm-hmm.
I even say it many times. I've called it moonlight in your ministry, moonlight in your business.
Yep.
Because I remember. I've done it a few ways. I fell into it backwards many years ago, and then I had to go back into the corporate world. And I can tell you, as a single girl in the corporate world, there's nothing more terrifying. And I hear that a lot. I was doing some discussions this past week for actually a project for school where we were, I mean, I'm getting my master's right now. I didn't think I was crazy enough. But in this project, we were talking, and it was interesting that it came up like the single girl or the person that's just really they've got something that they know they're really good at doing, but it's just that from A to B is a huge leap. And it's very scary because I mean it could mean sink or swim, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what would you say for that person?
I would say for that person, the way I did it, my husband and I were very intentional with the way that I left my job. I I wanted to leave my job for a long time before I actually did, and I highly recommend that. We had a nice little cushion before I left my job. Not it wasn't huge, but we had a little money stashed so that we didn't have that stress because that's really a dream killer for people, right? When you decide that you just can't take it anymore at your job and you have to go do something else, and then you're under all of this pressure to start earning an income through what used to be a side hustle or a hobby even, and now all of a sudden you've got to pay your mortgage with it, and that's just really stressful, and I don't wish that on anybody. So my best advice to you would be to be intentional about it and to plan for that move before you actually make the leap. Now, there are some people out there in a situation, especially this last 14 months, right, where they don't have that luxury. They don't have that option. And if that's the case, then you absolutely can earn a really good living doing your own thing. You just have to be willing to take that consistent action about it. That's probably the number one thing that I see, the number one mistake that I see people making in my coaching clients, in my membership, when people are not successful. I always want to take a look at what action are they taking on a day-to-day basis, because a lot of times what I find out is that they're not. They're sitting there and they're stuck. They've got so many things to do, and they're feeling so overwhelmed that they're not moving at all. It's kind of like that classic cartoon that we see sometimes floating around on Facebook where it says, I have so many things to do, I'm just going to go take a nap. That's what people do, right? Because they're so overwhelmed and they feel so stuck, they just don't even know where to start. So they just don't do anything, and pretty soon the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months, and 3 years from now you're saying, "Geez, I really want to start a business." Yeah.
Oh, that is so, so good, Cindy. And I have to agree. I think that that consistent action is
Oh, yeah.
so vital. And
Yeah.
once, I mean, I look back and that was probably one of my secrets to, behind all of the successes I've had. And the inconsistent action is probably the secret behind all the
Mhm.
all of the failures. I hate to say the word failure, but the missing it, not really getting where I want to be. So wow, that's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the jumping from thing to thing too.
Yeah.
Um, you know, very few sustainable businesses are built in a week.
Hmm.
You have to be willing to take that consistent action over time, even when it looks like it's not going anywhere,
Wow.
because it is. And eventually you reach that tipping point
Mhm.
where, oh, look at all of this stuff is, kind of all coming together nicely now. That's the situation that I'm in. I created tiny courses for, you know, months before they really started to take off and reach that um, critical mass where they kind of roll on their own, and I'm making money is a lot easier now for me than it was a
Mhm.
couple of years ago, right?
Oh, that's so good. And I want to come back to tiny courses. I wouldn't miss that one. But how do we find like that ideal client and really connect with them? I know a while back, not very long ago, a couple weeks back, you did an amazing program on email marketing, and um, I just believe that there's such a need to know who we're talking to, know how to speak to them, know what they're
Yeah,
wanting, know what they're needing really, and make those really intentional connections. I'm going back to the word intentional, but how do we do that? Where do we even begin with that?
I think for most people, you're going to find that you are or you were your ideal client, right? If you look back at yourself, and it doesn't matter what business model you're in, but if you look back at yourself 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, that's your ideal client right there.
Oh, that is awesome. I hope somebody just took some notes, because that's the truth. The more you know yourself, I mean, and I do believe people want what you are. And
Mhm.
I mean, the
Yeah.
best work you can do is on yourself.
Yeah.
And then, yes, yes, yes. And that's in anything that we're pursuing or that we're here to, produce.
Absolutely. It does not matter. It does not matter if you're teaching online marketing, if you teach people how to write books, if you teach people how to knit, if create, I don't know, whatever it is you're creating, whatever it is you're putting out there in the world, the people who are going to be most attracted to that are the person you were
Yeah.
just a few months ago.
That's so good. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so how do we get them coming to our website? How do we get
Ooh,
relevant traffic to us?
you know what? I had in my long and varied virtual assistant career, I used to build websites, right? And I had this very nice little old lady who I built a website for, and she was doing some really good things. She was doing I don't even oh, she had a nonprofit organization, that's what it was. It was a nonprofit organization, and she, it was like a little museum thing that she had going on, and I'll never forget, I built her website, and I handed it all over to her, and I showed her how to run it, and she emailed me back, and she said, "Okay, now one last question. How do I make it so my website shows up on the first page of Google?" And I thought, "Honey, if I could tell you that, I would be making a lot more money right now."
I worked with conversion first marketing for a year, and their job is SEO, and
Mhm,
they've developed a system called SEO first website design.
mhm.
And seriously, they have to stay on top of it to keep their people on page one, and but
Yeah,
it's I laugh when you say that because that is everybody's request, and
it
yet,
is.
boy,
It
that's
is, and it's like the holy grail of marketing, right? I just wanna
yeah.
be on the first page of Google for all my search terms. In terms of traffic, I mean, I've done a variety of things. My number one traffic source right now is affiliates. Um, I've built up a community of people who know me and who know the quality of the products that I put out, like you, and who happily promote my products for a portion of the revenue, and I happily pay them every single month a portion of my revenue because they bring me amazing customers. So I've built up a good deal of traffic through that. I'm also starting to do some other things. I'm doing podcast interviews, Facebook Live interviews like we're doing here today. I'm starting my own podcast here in a couple of months, doing some blogging. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can drive traffic. The You can pay for ads. I'm not a huge fan of that because I think you can spend a lot of money and not get a lot of results if you don't know what you're doing. That said, I'm actually currently studying an ads course, so I'm looking to branch out into that. But again, what it really comes down to is pick your path. What do you want to do? Do you want to have a podcast? Do you want to have a YouTube channel? Do you want to have a blog? Do you want to get interviewed? Whatever it is, it will work, but you have to do it consistently, right? You can't just record 7 podcast episodes and sit back and wait for the traffic to come in because it's not going to work. You can't publish on your blog once every 4 months like I do and expect it to bring you any traffic. It's just not going to work. You have to put in that consistent, intentional effort. And that's like my mantra, right? I keep coming back to that. Consistency, consistency, consistency because that's what it takes.
Absolutely. And I can totally I just started this podcast back in the fall last year. This,
Mhm.
I believe, is episode 26. And so, can I tell you that, that's what you just said about that pod fade is what they call it,
Yep.
of getting started. Ooh, I'm going to do
It's
this.
like it's like 7 episodes, right?
Yeah. It's
That's like the average pod fade.
It is. It
Yeah.
is truly because and here's the thing. I'm loving today because I'm getting to talk to a friend. I'm seeing a face. This is wonderful. But there's many of my podcasts that are just me talking into my microphone,
Mhm.
seeing my precious friends across the miles. And a lot of times all of that production work can be so isolating and it can be discouraging, and if you're not seeing anything say if you're not getting responses or that you don't think you are,
Right.
it's like anything else, you can get discouraged. But I love what you say because it's all about consistency. The more that we build, I know my podcast years ago, it had, I mean, podcasts from like, I did it for what was it, 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, oh,
Sorry, I
wow.
can't remember. But this year 7, I was having people that were buying from my show notes from the first year.
Yeah,
And so that's
absolutely.
why it's so powerful. And you don't know what's going to reach people, but having it out there is so powerful. So I love
Yeah,
that.
you never know who's gonna stumble across those older episodes.
No. And I would venture to say it's the same thing with products. Let's talk about like creating and selling digital products. I love, and I said I was wanting to come back to your tiny courses because, and I'm not ditzing when I say this because I'm actually developing a signature course myself, which I've
Mhm,
resisted for a while because I've been like, I just seen the benefit of tiny
mhm.
courses and smaller products that address things. And I'm getting tinier and tinier through the years because I
Yeah.
love that. But there's that thing of, okay, do you do a tiny course? Do you do a signature course? What do we do? So how do we create a product that our tribe will love and so we can make this thing work so that we can be in this awesome business or
Well, you know, I'm the tiny course person, but that's not to say there's anything wrong with signature courses, right? If you wanna create a 2 or $3,000 course, more power to you. Go for it. The reason why I choose not to do that is because, number 1, I get bored. I get bored creating the same thing for months at a time. It takes forever. And I feel like, especially for those listeners who you have who are maybe newer in business, going that route is risky, right? Because you don't know, is it going to sell? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. How much are you going, if you're brand new in business and you don't have an existing audience already, how are you going to promote it? Now it comes down to running ads and webinars, and all of that just adds overhead. And like I said, it can be super risky. And for every course creator out there who had a 10 or a 20 or a $50,000 launch, there's a lot of them that didn't sell anything or didn't even cover their costs. So I don't feel like I'm doing my audience a favor by saying you should be creating these big signature courses. I don't think it's good business when until you're at maybe a higher level. Maybe you know a little bit more about your audience. You know a little bit more about yourself and what you can bring to the world. My preferred method, like I said, because I get bored easily, is to create what I call tiny courses, which are, 7, 8, maybe 9 lessons, an hour and a half, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours of video and accompanying checklists and worksheets and whatnot and Trello boards. I always have Trello boards in my courses. Um, and I can create those relatively quickly. It takes me maybe a week total to create a course like that, and I sell them at a low price, and people get what they need from me. They get their questions answered. They don't have to devote 3 months to going through a big long course. They don't have to spend $2,000. They get the answer to their question and they move on to the next thing. And that's worked really well in my business. And that's what I'm teaching other people to do as well, because I think it's more sustainable. It gives me a lot more content that I can leverage down the road, and it serves the people that I am looking to serve.
I love that. And I really love what you said about, at the beginning, okay, if there's not been any sales, there's really not a community. Your tribe is your mama and your aunt. You know? It's a little difficult to
Yeah,
create
it can be.
a very, like a huge signature program. It's very difficult. And so I'm having all kinds of noise today. Oh goodness, it's very difficult because there is so much about market research, which I have been digging into some of that, and I think that that's very helpful. But
Mhm.
again, how long have I been in business through the
Right.
years? So I'm very big on the thing because here's the deal: if I look back, way back, go back to 150 books ago, or it was the book back then. Of course, I was running from a camera back then. That I don't even think we didn't have any of this that we have now.
No.
But
No.
I remember when it was a big day and I got the cassette recorder. Let's just put it that way. That's how
Yeah.
far back we're talking. And so, but if I think about that, it's those things. And I'm going to go somewhere here because one of my favorite products that I have of yours, and by the way, you guys, if you're saying, I want to look her up and you're not listening to us, here's the link where you can find her at cindyrushton.com/CB for Cindy Badar. CB, ABCD. But it's CB.
Yeah, CB.
And but stick with us because I think you're going to get some good stuff. But I remember, well, I think one of the first things I ever bought from you was about funnels, and I love that because I think that there you can see them take a step and they get to know you, and then they can take some other steps. And really, that's to me one thing I've noticed about you. I can fully trust that when I recommend your products, for example, and I love being one of your affiliates. She gives the cutest affiliate payments ever, which she's serious on. But I love that because, I can have full confidence knowing that, okay, maybe I haven't done a product on tiny courses yet. But I was like, oh my goodness, she read my mind. And like the email marketing program that you just recently
Hmm.
launched, I was literally maybe 2 months away. And I said, scrap that right now. I'm going to do this other thing I was working on. I couldn't debate. I was debating between products.
Yeah.
It's like, I love that Cindy is taking all of us on a journey. And so I want to talk about the funnels because, to me, I think that that's where a lot of people also, you hear a lot of stuff out there in the internet world and it doesn't make sense, but you just make it easy. So tell us about how that would work with, say, a tiny product and what that looks like for someone developing products.
Well, let's talk about funnels because people make this so complicated, right? I will never forget one of my clients that I used to work for. She hired a guy to build a funnel for her, and the funnel map was crazy. I mean, it was just insane. They opted in for this thing, and then they got this tripwire, and then they went down this sequence, and then they got texted this. And if they clicked on that, they went this direction. And if they clicked on this other thing, they went this other direction. And then they circled back. It was nuts. It was absolutely crazy. And I think that's what, when people hear the word funnel, that's what they think of. Or they think of the traditional internet marketing deep funnel where you buy something and then there's an upsell and then there's an upsell and then there's an upsell and then there's an upsell. And all you want to do is get to the thing I just bought. And there's this continuous upsell that goes on forever, right? That's not how I do funnels. None of that. A funnel in my world, the way I teach funnels is somebody opts in for something or they buy something and they maybe see another offer on the next page because we have to maximize that, right? And there's good scientific reasons why you want to do that if you have a business. And then they go into an email sequence, and that's my funnel. And the email sequence is built to capitalize on what they've already purchased or what they've already opted in for, and give them more of that. It's that's as simple as it. That's as complicated as it gets for me, right? I want to give people who are new to me or who have been around for a while and maybe just purchased something. I want to give them more of what they need to be successful. So that's how I design my funnels, to just give them more of what they need.
See, I love that. And that was something that really made sense to me. And I agree. Here's one thing I want to throw out. These sequences, like, okay, I'm going to have this option or this option. When people start doing that, I usually opt out personally.
Mm, yeah.
And that's a very big risk to doing things along those lines. I think that what you do is sure that, and you're right, that first if you have something to opt to my words just went out of my brain, to add in,
Mhm.
that makes sense. That is a very good offer because it may be that they didn't even know about that particular product or service.
Right.
But then beyond that, I love how you nurture them along in the email sequence because to me that's kind of taking someone along the way, and it's kind of like a really nice fuzzy warm sweet coaching, but by email, to me, like, hey, did you take action on this?
Mhm.
Do you need some help with this? I think that's way more natural. It seems a lot more doable. That's where when I first got, your funnel program, I was like, okay, this is definitely the way I feel like I can make it happen and
Mhm.
make it work. And so I love that. Now,
And and here's the thing too, since you talked about my email sequences and that they're kind of nurturing. I actually don't like that term. I hate the term nurture sequence because to most people when you say I'm going to write a nurture sequence, you're saying I'm not going to sell to you. And that is completely against what I
Mhm.
do and what I teach. There is an offer to buy something in every single one of my emails, and that does not make my emails any less valuable.
No, I
Sell
think
to people and provide value at the same time.
see, I think that's what I love about it, but it's real, then I don't like either making apologies that I've got other things that are going to help someone. They can just say no. They can say
Exactly.
yes or no,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm psychologically solid on that one.
Yeah.
But if I don't offer, how do you know? I
Right.
hear a lot of times people say, "I don't even know what you do," and that makes me think, okay, I'm going to have to tighten some of
You're
this
not
stuff
you're
up.
not doing your job if they don't know what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And but see, think about how busy people are. Think about how people are going in so many directions. If you're only seeing me on social media, then you're probably not even seeing part of it. One of the reasons I
Right.
love that we are on social media, and hi everybody right now, is because I really feel like sometimes people miss that we've got a show, and our show has wonderful content like this.
Mhm.
I really want it out there. And so this is part of, by the way, me nurturing, and my podcast is all about nurturing, all about nurturing. I heard, of course, we do have things that I'm letting people know that we do. However, it's a place for people to grow, and I do feel like that. I see what you're saying about the nurture thing because it's a little wore out, but I love it because I feel like you nurture, even though, and part of it, you let me know what I can do to get more help.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just thinking through and applying what I've gotten from you, and remembering, hey, pull that back out. Let's go through the next module.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just saying, oh, wow, I did need some help on this, and that makes a big difference in our success. And so, one of the things that another hot word, but I think you do it best when we're talking about scaling. Scaling is a hot word in the business
Mm.
world, but
Yeah.
how do we get from like a tiny product to six figures? How do you do that?
Create more tiny products. That's how you do it. It goes back to what we talked about reaching that tipping point, right?
Mhm.
Because I've been creating tiny courses now for 2.5 years.
Right.
So I have a decent catalog of tiny products. I have I think 37
Yeah.
last count is how many I have available inside Six Figure Systems membership. Um, but that gives me leverage, right? So I have all of these courses that I can bundle together in different ways. I can bring them out and put them on sale. I can put them inside a membership. I can offer them to my affiliates with a discount. I can offer them in bundles to grow my list. There's just a ton of different things I can do with it. And that kind of thing just comes over time, right? Because you have to, going back to taking consistent action. I've consistently created these courses and now I have this library of assets that I can leverage in a lot of different ways to grow my income and to grow my audience.
Mm. See, I think that that's something that you don't hear enough people talk about because it does take it takes a while to build a business, and you've built a
Mhm.
business. And I don't know that people realize that probably that's something that I think is being missed in a lot of the quote gurus. I'm not ditzing on anybody at
Mhm.
all. What I'm saying is, I think that they're missing how to build business. We're going to,
Right. Well, as a society, we're pretty impatient people,
yeah,
right? We
yeah,
don't we don't, we don't want to spend 2.5 years building a business. We want one next weekend.
right, exactly.
So
Exactly, and that's the problem, because if you have okay, I was even thinking about some of my clients that they have an idea. And I'm not, and boy, what I can do with your idea is unbelievable because I'm an idea girl. However, many times it's I have an idea, I want to write a book, and
Mhm.
I usually say, okay, that's totally a hobby. That is not going to be more than likely your New York Times bestseller. That
Right.
is just not likely. In fact, I don't even know many publishers that are going to buy into
Mm-mm.
one book person. And so, generally, whenever we get to talking and coaching, I see a lot of times where my clients can take even that one idea and they can make it into a business because there's so many details to it. And so I think that what you're saying here is to me one of the most important things they're going to get in business advice, that we're building businesses, we're building ministries, we're building something bigger than just that one thing. And like for me, one idea can be a whole product line for
Mhm.
me, but
Yeah.
it's about reaching people. And so I love what you're saying here with
Well,
that.
the other thing you said there too about creating one book, right?
Mhm.
The more you create, the more ideas you have. That's kind of the magic in being in business at all. I find the more content I create, the more ideas just show up.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I'm like that. If I start writing a book, generally there's going to probably be at least three more come out of it. I mean, that's just
Right.
reality. I have one I'm working on right now that so far there's about six books that are coming out of it and lots of other products. But it's because I feel like some of it you can't say some things in one book. You
Mhm.
got to like some of those ideas are complete courses, of something to really dig deep into. So I love what you're saying with that because that is to me how you build a business,
Yeah.
long term. Now,
Yeah.
you were mentioning a moment ago, and I love this. You were mentioning some of the ways I'm hearing you say that you are creating multiple streams of income. Can you
Mm.
talk about that with us?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in multiple streams of income. Um, in fact, going way back to when I first came online, when I first worked for David Perdue, I had 2 clients, right? I had David and I had somebody else, and, we were doing okay. I was making, a couple $1,000s a month or whatever, and the husband said to me at some point, "Wouldn't it be nice if they just hired you full time?" And at first glance, that seemed reasonable, sure. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, "No, that's a job." And that is not nearly as sustainable as having multiple clients. Because what happens when you have multiple clients or multiple streams of income, you're a lot less vulnerable in that space. So if you've got one client who pays you $4,000 a month or $5,000 a month or whatever that number is, if that client goes away, you've lost 100% of your income. Where if you've got 7 clients who are paying you $5,000 a month and one of those clients goes away, well, see, now I picked bad numbers because I can't do that math. But you see, it's a 1/7 of your income instead of all of your income goes away at that point. So multiple streams of income is super important for anybody who owns their own business, for anybody really, whether you own your own business or not. I hope that you are, um, you know, trying to get multiple streams of income into your life in some way. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. In the online business world, I've got multiple courses. I sell courses. I sell a membership. I do private business coaching. Um, I do affiliate marketing where I'm promoting other people's products. I've got lots of different income streams going on there. Once in a great while, I take on a VA job just to kind of keep my fingers in there. Um, so I've got a lot of different income streams, and that just makes my business that much more sustainable and that much less vulnerable. Plus, I've I have created, I used to hear people talk about being unemployable, and I never really knew what that meant. I am 100% unemployable right now. I could not go to work for somebody else if my life depended on it, probably. I couldn't do it. But I won't ever have to, because I know how to make money. Once you have that skill, once you know how to make money and how to market yourself, that's something you can capitalize on forever. And you will never ever be without an income if you grow that skill.
Oh, I love that. And that is exactly true. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, you guys, have you got some value? I think you have. Okay, Cindy, I want to ask you something. I like to do this because to me, I'm always full of ideas, like I was mentioning earlier, but I know you are too. So, what are you working on that you can whisper into our ears so we can anticipate it?
Ooh, what am I working on right now? Well, I'm working on my course for which is going to launch in May. Um, that one is just in the beginning stages. I'm just writing it right now, so that's kind of my focus this week. But I also have a new course coming out. It's actually already in the membership, so if you're a Six Figure Systems member, you already have access to this. But it's going to launch to the public at the end of this month. It's called Sales Pages That Convert, and it is all about how to write a sales page without pulling your hair out.
Which we need our hair.
Yes.
I love it. Oh, goodness. This is so good. Well, you guys, if you want to access Six Figure Systems, you want to grab some of her tiny products, you can do that at cindyrushton.com/CB. That's my link. And I'm telling you guys, I totally love everything. I can vouch for so many of her products, but also even I'm just telling you guys, they're going to be a big help to you. If you've got a need, go shopping, go find that amazing tiny product or bigger product or even coaching that will help you. Don't stay stuck,
Yeah, don't stay stuck.
no,
That's not a good place to be.
no, and there's help. There's just help. So as we wrap up for today, Cindy, do you have any final words you would like to leave us with? That's my favorite question I ask from anybody and everybody. So
The final words that I would like to leave you with is, if you have a dream of a different lifestyle, if you have a dream of creating your own income, your own business, don't put it off. Nobody is promised a tomorrow. So don't wait to go after those dreams. They are entirely possible. I am not, and I think you would agree, Cindy, that we are not smarter or more privileged. Well, I guess I don't want to use the word privileged, but we're not smarter, we're not better educated, we don't have different opportunities than anyone else does. Um, the internet is a wide open space, and I think what a lot of people think sometimes is, oh, my idea is not any good, or somebody else has already done it. And none of that is a valid reason to not put yourself out there and go after it, because it is entirely possible. I truly, truly believe that anybody who has the wherewithal to be watching this or listening to this podcast has the capability of starting and running a successful online business. Absolutely, truly believe that. And don't wait. Don't put it off. Do it.
absolutely. Exactly what she just said, you guys. Well, you guys, I'm thankful that you guys joined us for today's show. I'm so thankful, Cindy, to have this moment with you. I really treasure it. And it's my moment just to say thank you for all you've done to pour into my business and into my life. I appreciate that so much.
Well,
You,
thank you so much for inviting me. This was super fun, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to get on and talk to your community. So much fun.
yeah. And speaking to all of you in my community, thank you for joining us for another amazing show. And I want to just invite you to jump in, give us some feedback. If you got more questions or feedback, maybe something that was your big takeaway, hop in, let us know. We're cheering you on. And so if you have just happened upon this podcast, whether it's on social media or somewhere, you can connect with me at all your favorite podcast places. I am at all of them. As a matter of fact, I get so excited, you guys. I'll go into different things. And the other day I found myself on Audible. Go girl. I was like, I have arrived. I'm inaudible, and I just love, love, love it. So if you've got your favorite place that you listen to podcasts, subscribe to me, give me some love there. You can also find me at YouTube. We have a whole thing like this will actually have a video with it. Some of them don't. If they're just like me hiding in the corner with bedhead, you don't get a video. And that's being real, you guys. But jump over to cindyrushton.com/YouTube and you can follow my little sweet YouTube channel and help us grow there as well. Share us with a friend. And of course, again, hey, if you want to go shopping and have some fun, go to Cindy's website and you can find it at this link. It's through my website, cindyrushton.com/CB. And that just takes you straight on into her website. And so you guys check her out, tell her that I sent you. Well, I guess you would know that I sent you when they use my link. And you guys get ready for an amazing week this week. I hope that you learned something valuable today and that you will implement it. And then I, of course, look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week and I'll see you then.